Well, it's a horrifying abuse of children at a creche in Carletonville has been exposed. A woman entrusted with the care of innocent and defenseless toddlers was caught on camera assaulting them. Why does the law not protect our children? How can parents ensure that their children are safe? And what about the trauma caused? Well, the smoke that calls a community desperate for their leaders to listen. Alexandra Township has come to a standstill after residents took to the streets. They do not believe that government will hear them unless they set things alight. What has driven protesters to this drastic action? And the Freedom Front Plus versus Black First Land First. The parties are going head-to-head, accusing each other of racism. And now the IEC is caught in the middle. Tonight, both parties plead their cases for you to decide. And is there a natural way to cure ADHD? Although illegal, could cannabis oil be what helps children to cope? Tonight, we interrogate this matter further. But first, the news headlines. Well, ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule is vehemently denying corruption claims made against him. He's dismissing the allegations, saying he and fellow ANC members are being targeted. Magashule is at the center of a book by investigative journalist Peter Louw-Myburg detailing alleged corrupt activities while he was Free State Premier. He was speaking to ENC reporter Samkela Maseko.
Lies are splashed there, well-coordinated lies. Repeat them and repeat them and repeat them and repeat them until people believe them.
Can you give me one example of a lie that has been told?
There are so many lies.
Lies about you and the Guptas?
People have said, yeah, there are lies about me and the Guptas. Wait and see when I take legal action, because they are well coordinated, well planned, well orchestrated, deliberate to weaken the ANC, to deal with me. And I can tell you, I'm not the product of anything. I'm the product of the ANC structures.
Who wants to deal with you?
We'll come to that, because I'm following the legal route. You are actually going to see how we expose lies and defamation.
Well, 11 suspects have been arrested for public violence following violent demonstrations in Alexandra. Angry residents have brought the township north of Johannesburg to a standstill as the shutdown entered its second day. Residents are protesting over poor service delivery and concerns about illegal housing. They've scheduled a meeting with Mayor Herman Mashaba for tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, law enforcement authorities are closely monitoring the situation.
We will have to deploy again tomorrow, particularly in the area where the meeting will take place, so that we can have as minimal disruption as possible.
Have there been any arrests following yesterday's protest?
Yes, 11 people have been arrested in total, and that is for ranging of public violence as well as for malicious damage to property. So those protesters will still have to appear in court.
Well, companies must hire local truck drivers. The Transport Minister, Bladen Nzimande, says a report shows companies are flouting the law by hiring foreigners. Task teams have been looking into the friction in the trucking sector, where several vehicles have been torched on the N3 highway in a recent spate of violent protests.
Already the preliminary investigation, by the way, by the Department of Labour, which is contained in this report, does point out that some companies are 100% employing foreign nationals, and they've not applied, to be able to do that. So clearly what this means is that we do need more enforcement to the law. By the way, I want to distinguish this from, because some people are saying, well, here now we are talking xenophobic language. We have no xenophobia whatsoever, but we do have to enforce the laws and be able to protect South African laws. As I have said, foreign nationals are not stopped from applying for jobs, but it must be jobs as per the law. That is scarce skills and skills that we actually do not have.
While the Vaal River in the Mfuleni district of Gauteng remains an environmental as well as health risk, that's despite the deployment last year of specialized engineers from the SA National Defence Force. Now, they're repairing the Sebokeng wastewater treatment plant, but there are also other sources of raw sewage polluting the river. The South African Human Rights Commission says the situation is shocking and must be addressed urgently.
We are saying the stakeholders must get together, and this must basically become a priority. We are also saying that no development can take place here because the infrastructure is just basically collapsed. Now, the worrying thing for the Human Rights Commission itself is that this particular plant is now looking after the interest not only of the people of this area, but I mean it's along the banks of the Vaal River. There are 19 million people downstream that are basically dependent on clean water. If something has to go wrong, there's going to be a cholera outbreak, which is then going to compound the problem.
While parents entrust their children to teachers every single day, no one ever imagines that their little one may be abused by these caregivers, but that's become reality for some. Now, chilling video of a Creche teacher abusing toddlers placed in her care has horrified the nation. It's left many parents concerned about the safety of their children and what can parents do in this kind of situation. While joining me to discuss this very matter, we have clinical psychologist Dr.Cathy Angus. Dr. Cathy, thanks a lot for joining us this evening. Now, horrific video, just yes, showing how much I think we're unaware even as society in terms of just what human beings are capable of and capable of doing to children. Let's talk about the impact that this actually has on a child, and most importantly, what happens in a situation when a child is actually put in a caregiver's care who does not even care about ensuring that they're even safe.
That is the worst of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think if one pictures a situation and you look at that small child who wanted to vomit, be ill, was feeling sick, cannot control the vomiting, vomits and is promptly punished. That's the perception the child has, that they're being punished for something they have done that is completely out of their control. And that has a significant impact, particularly when it comes from an adult. As you say, an adult who is meant to be a caregiver and is being anything but a caregiver at that stage. And it has a tremendous result of ongoing anxiety and a feeling of helplessness. And those are all very important to take note of because they can become long-term problems. If we're looking at a school where this happened 2 years ago, one other report said a year ago, how many other times has this happened?
Yeah.
How many of these children have had repeated beatings? And the fact that it was not just one clap across the ear, it was, I watched it, was consistent.
It was consistent.
And then there was a break, and then she was back at it 3 times. And this child would have been feeling completely out of her depth.
Are there long-term ramifications of such? And many individuals would watch this and say, no, the child is about a toddler, right? So maybe 3, 4, but by the time they're 30, they would not have remembered the situation, just obviously if they're removed from the danger. But are we not aware of the in-depth psychological effects of actually experiencing, I'm going to call it such a trauma because it's traumatic.
It is trauma.
Itself. So of such a trauma.
Yes, very much so. And the trauma, in fact, is worse because she's a child, not better. Because she doesn't have the skills and the ability that an adult has to make sense of it. So the child is now in a helpless situation, not only physically, but emotionally and psychologically, because she can't explain what has happened to her.
What do they say with psychology? That it would probably go into the repressive memory and manifest itself in different forms, psychological actions as time goes on. We're going to go into the logistics around it, and also how do parents capacitate themselves and how do parents know when a child is being abused in just a moment. But I want to bring into the conversation here the lawyer of Nini Neurons Nursery School, Danie Van Zyl. He represents the principal of the school as well. Danie, thanks a lot for joining us on Tonight with Jane Dutton. Now, the first question really is, was the school operating as a legal entity, as a legal institution, or was it operating illegally?
Apparently it wasn't registered, so yes, it was indeed an illegal school as such.
Now, given the fact that it was an illegal school, does that not then, put the power within the parents to actually sue the school? Because there's no ground to stand on if the nursery school was operating illegally and you're therefore standing as a representation of the principal.
Well, you see, what I got instructions on was obviously when I was notified about the videos as such, and the fact that the school teacher, or sorry, not the school teacher, but the principal was threatened that these videos would become viral and that it would be sent. So that was my initial instruction. So I did not go into the legality of the school as such. But from there on, this whole thing evolved, and we discovered the videos were sent, and from there on we took on that matter.
Yeah, but Danie, you say that you were instructed. I would like to know exactly who you instructed by. So was it the principal that gave you a call that said, listen, there are videos that are going viral, or I'm being blackmailed to actually, to get money from the individual who was taking the video of this incident, and therefore I need your assistance. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. She contacted me by saying at that point in time that there was a video, there were more than one video that was going to be sent to her, and that she was threatened to be blackmailed by a previous school teacher who had been employed there up to last year, October.
Yeah. Do you not then feel blindsided? And I mean, I'm just being honest here. Do you not feel blindsided at the fact that this story is consistently evolving? We heard from the MEC of Social Development that the school was actually operating legally with registration having expired in 2016. Here you are representing a principal who was saying that actually she was being blackmailed for the leakage of the video in itself, and you're coming on television, and one would say that it's quite blindsiding to not know all the facts and have them before you before understanding that what you're actually defending may actually be a defenseless case.
No, I wasn't blindsided. I focused on the fact that the children were assaulted, and I assisted the school the school principal to open a case with the Child Protection Unit as quickly as possible. Because the most important concern that she had, and that I also have as a parent and as a grandfather, was the concern of the children as such.
And not necessarily the blackmailing.
That's the most important thing. And if that's not important to you, or the most important thing, then we obviously differ on this point.
Well, unfortunately, this is not about me. This is about children who have been taken advantage of. And a principal, unfortunately, who contacted you on the premise of actually having some form of protection against somebody who was actually blackmailing her. So that's what I'm asking, the premise of the Blackmail Institute. Where did she get the videos from, though, Danie? From that teacher?
She got the videos from the school teacher, who we also had a meeting today to insist that that lady had to be arrested as well. The police neglected to arrest that lady, the lady that took the videos, of the one assaulting the children. And both of them had been school teachers at the school. And to us, that was important, that both of these people had to be arrested and to be brought to justice.
And would the principal at this stage be prepared for the parents of these young people to actually sue the school, for number one, abuse, really?
Well, that I can't answer upon, because I don't know whether the parents would take that road. But then one will take it from there on if they decide to sue the school. But the school has indeed temporarily been closed down. That is indeed a fact. And what you've said about the fact that since 2016 it had been operating without the necessary legality or the necessary documentation, that unfortunately is indeed the truth. That was conveyed to me only today, and I found out about it. And surely that doesn't change the tragic incidents that have taken place there, unfortunately.
Absolutely does not change it. Donna, we can leave our conversation there, but thanks all for joining us this evening and shedding some light in terms of exactly where do we stand from a legal perspective. And perhaps when we're talking about, and Donnie's right with one point, is that this is about the children. These are about the children who have got, and because of this incident, will have to deal with the trauma possibly for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Now, in such a situation, I must ask you, how do parents know? The parents drop off children every single day at different nursery schools, Montessori's, you name it. and they're hoping that the caregivers are actually looking after their children. And then how does a parent know that the kid is being abused?
There will be signs if you're alert as a parent. Firstly, children can become very withdrawn, quieter. That's the first key to pick up on why is this child withdrawn into a world of its own, of fear, anxiety, and not being afraid to actually report this, even to a parent, because maybe they did wrong. So there's a tremendous amount of responsibility that the child picks up as well. As to, firstly, I vomited on the table, that was wrong clearly, and maybe that was wrong, and if I tell my parents that this happened, perhaps I'll be in trouble at home.
But then, Dr. Angus, what about a 2-year-old who can't even speak properly?
Exactly. So then you would look for behavioral signs in terms of being quieter, crying more often, not going to sleep as well, perhaps having nightmares, waking up in the night. The signs will be very clear that the child's unsettled.
Does wetting the bed also count as trauma?
Absolutely.
As an expression of trauma?
Absolutely. Very common.
Okay, so when we're looking at, all right, when it comes to capacitating parents, just look out for the children's change in behavioral patterns.
Yes.
And also the way in which they express themselves further.
Yes.
We're going to leave our conversation there for this evening, but thanks a lot for joining us.
It's a pleasure,
tonight in terms of exactly how do we better look after and best look after children, especially who've been violated or abused at the hands of caregivers. Caregivers really that were supposed to care for the children end up being the ones that actually cause the most harm. While still ahead this evening, we've got Alexandra Township, which came to a standstill yesterday, and today residents that took to the streets once again. Now, protesters say they are tired of inadequate service delivery, rampant crime, as well as illegal land occupation. So we're going to be speaking to community leaders up next, so stay with us.